across the three time zones and teachers in Europe and in Asia. Well, we try our best, guys. Um, Anyone want to share their greatest challenge in teaching? We have space for two people as we wait another minute for the rest of the people to join. All right, one at a time, guys.
Yeah, just click raise hand.
All right, seems like these teachers are giving us the student treatment. And what teachers do in that situation is they pick a student. And I'm gonna pick Laurelyn to share her greatest student challenge.
My greatest student challenge is keeping my students motivated and on task, keeping them, I don't know, motivated, really motivated. And I teach high school sophomores.
Sophomores were my favorite grade to teach.
All right, guys. I think we're at time here, so I'm gonna give a brief introduction before I hand the microphone to Andrew. The goal for today really is to have a very hands-on workshop where we're in a group of innovators. I'm just so amazed by the things I learn with our educators. And often I'm one-on-one and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this other teacher that would love to hear this, way to make students more engaged, or whatever challenge we're facing. So we're experimenting, putting some of these up. We're gonna do one of these sessions a month. Soon we're gonna have one that covers test prep in the age of AI, as well as a few other exciting things. So stay tuned. The goal really is to share, so feel free to raise your hand, share thoughts on what's being commented on, and we'll kick this off initially by Andrew, who is going to share some of the best techniques and classroom practices he's observed over the past couple years since AI basically took over the world and education specifically. And from there, we're going to have a moment to share our thoughts with the group and then discuss them in breakouts. And then finally, we'll come all together and share best practices with each other. So I'm super excited to hear what Andrew has to share with us today. And thank you so much for hosting us, Andrew.
Thanks, it's my pleasure. Whoops. I cannot share screen while the other participant is sharing. Did anybody else teach from COVID where this exact thing happened like a million times?
Yeah, I'm living through that again. Our school went virtually again because of the fires. So,
I'm sorry, man. Whoops. All right. That's okay. Here. Let me just adjust. I'm just going to grab a screenshot and then.
Are you trying to share your screen?
Try again, Andrew. See if it works now.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to share a couple things. These are some things that I've only ever, oh my God. Anyone else on a Mac? Okay. Here. Let me try. Can you see what I'm seeing? Yes. Beautiful. It's like a Jeffco believes kind of thing. This.
Okay.
All right, beautiful. So first, thanks for everybody's patience. It's been a hot minute since I taught remote, and doing this helps me process the nightmares. I'm Andrew Gittner, so right now I'm a ed tech specialist in Jeffco in Colorado. I'm going to share a couple just things that I've been writing and our district's been talking about. And then I'm going to share really two main things, which is one, and this is totally me personally. I do not think that it's a good idea to write super comprehensive AI policies for something that's just going to change, if that makes sense. Because like if you've seen the Will Smith video, and if you haven't, it's horrifying, but a delightful illustration of our time. Um, AI's changed so much that since 2023 to several months ago, a video of Will Smith eating spaghetti is almost believable. And that sounds absurd, but if like right now we're in a place where we've never been as a human race, where we can't actually even tell what is real. And that's only getting better. One book that I 10 out of 10 would recommend that we're going to kind of ground ourselves in today is this one. It's Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick. I'll drop the link in the chat later. It's the only AI book I've read that was written before, yesterday, and nothing's actually out of date. But we'll get there. The first is instead of a policy, what I did with my district is we drafted a series of belief statements because AI will change things. That is not up to me, that's not up for debate. However, those changes ought to be guided by human values because education, first and foremost, is like a form of immersing ourselves in bettering and improving the human experience. So these are just the important kind of grounding philosophies. And Jeffco's the Wild West. Teachers are doing all sorts of stuff. So if teachers are using AI in accordance with these things, then you're going to be okay. AI it's a tool, not a replace. It should always support, not substitute thinking. AI has to be used ethically, inclusively, transparently, and for the benefit of all students, which is really important, especially this for the benefit of all students, because AI does have bias.
I think we lost Andrew. Is everyone here?
Yeah, I think we lost him.
We lost Andrew for a minute. Um, that's great. I'm gonna take the moment to mention we dropped the name of the book in the chat, and we're gonna add the link right away. And someone also dropped the Will Smith video in case you're interested in seeing what Andrew was talking about. And he's
Oh,
back. The man is
there we go.
back. Welcome
Oh my God.
back.
Wi-Fi
Were you,
mesh
were you
says
taken away by an AI alien for a second there?
some days I wish. So, but yeah, basically like users are accountable for the accuracy, originality, and ethical implications of their work. You can grab a screenshot, just like don't tell my boss, okay? I'm just kidding. You're fine. Um, Beautiful. And so where did I get cut off? I'm so sorry.
You were
There we
you were mentioning how it's the what yeah point 23. You were mentioning when AI kicked off, it was the Wild West there at Jeffco.
Beautiful. So right now, like if teachers try to use AI in accordance with these things, they can't get in trouble. Somehow we got all of the relevant bigwigs on board magically. The stars aligned. I think number four is like the scariest one for a lot of people. We have to make sure what we're using safeguards students and staff's privacy and personal identification. CoGrader does that by not like training off of your students or by not like saving that data. It's got pretty extensive data protection agreements in place and like industry standard policies for keeping that safe. And AI is evolving quickly, requiring us to continually learn and adapt to prepare students for the future. And that's really like what a big part of this is about. Is like you don't show up to an optional webinar if you don't care about your students. So like, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. That's just something like one thing that we're using in my district. Uh, I just want to like point out and ground us in a couple pull quotes from that Ethan Malik book, Co-Intelligence. So I dropped a Figma in there, or a Fig Jam. This is the closest thing I've found to a Jamboard replacement. RIP Jamboard. I don't know if anybody else is like particularly sad that it's gone. Um, I am. So
Andrew,
beautiful.
if you want to maybe share your screen so
Yep.
everyone can see the board. If um, Andrew also dropped the link in the chat, so feel free to open and contribute. We'll keep this open for everyone here, so you can draft your notes and suggestions as we go.
Yep. And if you've never used FigJam before, there's some useful tips over here. I like that you just put S and the stickies kind of pop up. Um, so like today we're kind of looking at 5 different bands. The first one here, what other kinds of alternative assessments might we try? And that's a really difficult thing for me, especially. Whoops, I'll figure it out. And these are just some like, and I just pulled them straight out of Ethan Malick's book. These are some different assessments that he has in his chapter, AI as a tutor. One is creating assignments that ask students to cheat by having the AI create essays, and then the student writing is critiquing those essays, right? Um, Having assignments that allow unlimited AI use, but hold students accountable for the outcomes and facts. And that's really important. Like that's when I'm writing AI policies and stuff, that's what my boss is holding me to. Um, Other assignments like doing different things with AI. Then he shares his first assignment for his Wharton students. Make what you're planning on doing ambitious to the point of impossible. And that's the assignment, right? And then he like pitches his idea. The idea is to like pitch something, ask the AI to give you 10 ways your project could fail and a vision of success, and use prompts from the class, or like he gives them prompts to use. But then he says, ask it to or ask 3 famous figures to criticize your plan, which I think is a phenomenal way to like just look at writing. Another one is, and I've tried this kind of thing. You have AI design a simulation, and then students interacting with the chatbot is the assignment. So one professor like had AI create a Black Death simulator, and he had students learn and try in ideas that have never been tried before. One thing that a lot of my colleagues are kind of scared about is this idea of the homework apocalypse. If we can't prove authorship, then like how do we know that students are getting anything out of the assignments? Are we having AI help us give feedback on purely AI driven material that students have never cognitively engaged in? So I'm just curious like what people are doing with that. Over here is just what other topics would you like to discuss? This one, I highlighted this quote about ed tech solutions in the past. So I'm sort of curious, like what has, whoops, let me just unlock all of them. Sorry, typos. This is what happens when you like, do this straight after you get home from work. Um, what other tech have you tried in this new age? Because again, somebody PM'd me just a Padlet, and I was like, oh gosh, I could just have people drop pins on a Padlet. That's brilliant. I could have added a map to this Jamboard. Um, I don't know. I'm a fan of the smartest people being in the room is the room. This is a link because you can embed it, but I couldn't figure it out. And this just takes you to something that I made for my district. That's how to clarify student expectations around AI. And this has a bunch of variations on that AI scale in it. There's a slides, docs, sheets, and forms extension called Stickity Pro, or you can just you can like kind of follow this link, but it creates a slide for you. The
Bigger,
AI.
and you can see.
Yep. And then you just drag the arrow to what level of AI use is okay. So I used to stick this at the front of any assignment like that I was giving. They also have other like clear stickers, but just do me a favor, like give a reaction, use the reaction button in Zoom if you've seen any version of these stoplights. I'm seeing a thumbs up. I saw a nod. Beautiful. This is actually the one I used all last year, and it was really helpful. It's a Google drawing. I just double clicked it, and then I would move the arrow. That way I could stick it on every assignment, and it only took like a couple seconds for me. Here's a good one. Here's a good one. This is kind of the OG one from Matt Miller in Ditch That Textbook. I don't know if, shout out to Matt Miller. He's too famous for a shout out from me. He's fine. Um, and then this one is more a guide for students. There's actually I had some teachers kind of have words with me about giving people that because they didn't want teach or students using AI in their classes. These are just some things I've used to kind of set expectations with my students. So my question is like, what might help us just for discussion? Not what might, what has helped us set expectations for AI use? And the last one is just potpourri. What other topics do you want to discuss? Right? What's on your mind? Again, and that's sort of what I have. I'm not pretending to offer anything like groundbreaking or amazing. These are just some things that I've been thinking about that have helped me come to like some sense of sanity in this brave new world that we have. But again, the smartest people in the room is the room. So I'm gonna let I'm gonna let Jill introduce us to like this concept of breakout sessions because again, the purpose of this is to talk with colleagues about kind of what we've been trying, what's going on, and this is a time and space to have these conversations. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew, for that. And so, as Andrew mentioned, this was kind of to get your brain thinking, what we can do about this new era and how we can change the way we teach in our classrooms, given that we know students now have accessible this super powerful tool. And our goal as the next step is we're gonna put people in breakout rooms where in small groups we would encourage you to discuss what things have you seen work in your classroom. Um, if AI can generate essays, what skills we should be assessing, and how we can ensure students still develop critical thinking, originality, and kind of go through the strategies that we have around that. I'm gonna post some of these provocational questions. Feel free to keep the Figma Jamboard link, which you can see all of the things that all the resources Andrew has to share, and use that also as a starting point from the conversation. And I'm going to drop the questions right down in the chat, and hopefully Aleph can help us put us into meeting rooms. I'm just noticing that for some reason there's a timer counter that I'm not sure how to remove because we have a very premium Zoom account and that shouldn't be happening. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Um, let's see. All right. So let me open all rooms. There we go. And now you should have a pop-up to join a room. Let me know if you do.
I don't have a pop-up on my end.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
You might have to hit open rooms.
Yeah, I did. I'm not sure. Let's see. I'll just manually add a couple people. Oh my gosh, there's so many people in the room. Thought we were like 10 people. Um, okay. Aleph saved the breakout rooms. Aleph, are you still hosts? Let me see. I was trying to create more rooms.
No, it's you. You're the host now.
Oh, allow participants to choose room. How do I add more
Yeah,
rooms? Let me see.
you just add more rooms, but it's showing up. It's showing up now. It's working.
Oh, it's showing up? Okay.
Yeah.
Could you add more rooms so that there's 3 people max in each room? Or we can keep this as a room going too.
No, it's showing up for me to enter the room, and people are already joining, so you all can just.
Can you add more rooms, Aleph?
I can. It has to be you.
How do I make you host? Here, I'll do that.
Okay.
Well, as Aleph goes and figures out the rest of the rooms, I'm excited to hear from you guys. So what's one challenge you've faced, and what has been one strategy that has helped you the most? And as usual, we can start with Laurel. And oh,
Well,
sorry,
I
Marcelli was it bad to say something? I don't want to cut you. I'll let
Yeah.
one of you.
I
I
was
don't
just
need to
gonna
start.
say, yeah, I was just going to say that the reason why I was joining this is because it's being in a middle school setting and just looking on an instructional coach standpoint of things, it's us still trying to really figure out and learn how exactly we're wanting to use AI. So I don't really have anything of, oh, this is how I could see the students using it. That's why I came to this, is because I wanted to be able to get input from what other people have already tried and strategies and things like that. I mean, I have what we use as teachers to be able to help, but I don't have specifics on what we should have our students do.
And like I said, I work in a high school teaching sophomores, and I haven't had a whole lot of success specifically in essay writing. That has mostly just been failure after failure, because they are using the AI not to help them create ideas or to organize, but instead just to write the essay for them, which ends up being terrible in regards to literary analysis. But one thing my district has done is we've started using this program called Brisk, and with Brisk, the AI allows the students to have conversations about themes and about uh, learning objectives, essentially, and that has been really amazing.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, it's many of the co-creator educators are also using Brisk for several of the tools they have, which complement perfectly. And it's interesting how it's all kind of happened so fast all at the same time. Thanks for sharing, Laurel. And what's your current kind of like what's your approach in what you are having them write? Is it still in line with what you used to do, or has that adjusted in any way?
Well, I'm kind of old school. I've been a teacher for 27 years, so the change feels really ominous. It's like I couldn't even get my earbuds to connect to my computer. I mean, I had to have help. So, some of the changes are a little overwhelming for how do I get my students to analyze literature and to think deeply when they have this tool that does everything for them, and to get them to the point where they actually do the thinking themselves. Um, that's been hard. Plus, I also have no idea what's going on. I mean, things are changing so fast, I can't keep up. I guess that's what I mean.
Absolutely. And still, I can already tell you, sorry, Steve. I can already tell you that from my experience and talking to so many educators about this, you're already probably the 10% that's leading the way just by hearing you talk.
I can share what how I've used AI. So I've taught 28 years. So I teach AP World History to sophomores. I kind of knew this AI wave was going to come. So last year on my syllabus, I have my kids write take-home essays, and they were used. There's three a semester, and it used to be 20% of their overall grade. They have to write in-class essays, and students in the past have always said how the take-home essays have helped them because it gives them an opportunity to go through the writing process without the time pressure of writing the essays in class. So I talked to my kids, and 2 years ago to say I'm thinking about either getting rid of it or reducing the value of the 20%. And they really convinced me to keep it. So I reduced it down to 15%. And then I just talked with my kids at the beginning of the year and said, hey, the purpose of these take-home essays are for you to go through the thinking process so that when you do take the in-class essays, that you've gone through that process and you're developing a skill. At the end of the day, I can't check whether you did it or not, or you got it from AI. But on the tech side, what I did is we use Schoology, and Schoology allows you to create Google documents. And so I created a it created a Google document, and it assigns it to each kid. And Google Documents you can look at revision history, and there's a feature called draft back. And so I can see them actually typing when they typed it and how much they typed. I mean, they could be looking at another device and typing it from AI, but at least they're typing it. And so that's what I've done. And then in terms of like multiple choice test questions, I mean, I recently had my student, I tell them you got the greatest study aid ever created. You can literally create a 70 question multiple choice test on AP World History from 1450 to 1750. Ask it to create answers and explanations why the correct answer is right and why the wrong ones are. You can go through, take that test, and then analyze it. So I've just kind of talked to them about responsible use for AI. So
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Steve. You can feel that you thought about all of these things for a minute.
yeah, I mean, I'll tell you a short story. One of my students last year, she didn't do her essay in the Google Doc I created, and in the syllabus, I said I have a right to talk to you about your essay. And when I talked to her, she wrote like 2,000 words, and usually the requirement's like 800 words. And I was like, this isn't that what she was writing. The argument wasn't making sense with the evidence she was using. So after class, I said, what was the main argument of your essay? No response. What was some of the evidence you used in your essay? No response. Can you give me the definition of a particular word? No response. And then she said she had worked on the document with her dad, and she shared that with me. And I was able to go back in the draft back, and like on October 23rd at 1 o'clock, it had just the title. And then 8 minutes later, there's a full 2,000 page essay. So it was pretty obvious that that was probably generated by AI. Our school didn't have a policy at the time, so I did, and I mentioned that like most schools, this was like a year ago. Most schools were in the process of trying to get or working on AI policies and just dealing with this. And we did come up with an AI policy, but I like the idea of just having a smaller policy that goes on values because things change so quickly. So I did like that idea. So that's something I might share with, not might, I'll share with our admin.
Absolutely. And if you want something more formal, more in the line of, the larger ones, I'm happy to share. I put together a few resources also um, for how to do that from a school district that actually made them public very very gently. And I think they're pretty well designed. They're also not too long and they're easy to understand. I'm wondering how you mentioned something interesting there, Steve, and I imagine it resonated with others, which is like what you do when we think whether a student wrote an essay with AI and showed up with 2,000 words all of a sudden. What are kind of some of the strategies you all in the room have used?
Well, there's some decent AI detectors, but the problem is they're really inconsistent. So I've done that. Back in the day, it used to be really easy to identify plagiarism. Um, and I'm kind of using that same process that I used for plagiarism with AI, but it's not as easy because of the inconsistencies. So you either have to choose one and say, this is my standard, or I think if you've got draftback, that's really awesome. Draftback is amazing, but even then kids can learn, oh, she's looking at how many keystrokes I'm taking, and so I've had several students just retype the AI essays.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
And so, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the one thing. If they have another device and they type it, I mean, there's nothing you can do to kind of stop that. Yeah, there's just too many false negatives, so I don't think you can really accuse like students. So, I mean, there were other factors. Like I asked her questions about it, she couldn't answer it. But just saying one like ChatGPT 0 or Turnitin AI detector, just one thing alone without anything else, I think you're on pretty thin ground because the AI is creating something that is original. And we had it under our plagiarism policy, and they argued that our plagiarism policy stated like when you copy someone else, and they were arguing that the AI wasn't a person, like when you copy another person. So I'm telling you, the leak, yeah, it was.
I do have a question, and I don't know because and it just interests me because I was just helping teach a course on transformative learning. And we were talking about how we are seeing a lot of students that are in college now that do not have the writing capabilities that they're seeing those same struggles at a post-secondary level. So just out of curiosity, because I'm one that I like to look at the bigger picture of seeing that it's not just us struggling in elementary or middle school or high school, that what is there anybody on here that is at the college or university level? And how do you work through this aspect of college level students that are using AI to compose their writing? Or like I know there's even people talking about, well, I'll go get my doctorate because I can use AI to help me type up my dissertation. That I'm just out of curiosity, what is there anyone here that's at the post-secondary level and how they tackle or help use AI for the greater good instead instead of them finding ways to replace their own thoughts?
I teach at the college level at Polk State College in Lakeland, Florida, and I'm not sure how many of my students are using AI, but the way I try to control for it is by having a lot of in-class work. And I'm lucky enough to be able to teach my composition classes in a computer classroom, so I can supervise it. But short of that, I am not sure I'm catching it when they are writing with AI. The writing skills happen to be marginal for many of my students to begin with, but I have not yet found a great deal that I could point to and say, okay, that was created by AI. I'm hoping CoGrader can help me do that.
Oh, all right. So may I add to that discussion? My name is Theo Clark. I teach at the University of Technology, Jamaica. My students, they use AI a lot in their writing. So one of the tool, I mean, we have Turnitin here, that tells us AI generated content, human written paraphrase with AI tools. We see that. So one of the things I try to do to when I give assignments is that we meet on a weekly basis, and I tend to ask my students for progress For example, if you're writing something for me, I need to see where you are. Like during the first or second week, I tend to give like a written assignment to be done in class so I can have a feel of what your writing style is. So when I give you any sort of written assignment and I see it come back to me, I look at your sentence structure. I look at the way we speak, understand the context of language in Jamaica, how we speak as Jamaicans tends to be how we write. So I look for that in when I'm marking assignments. And so far, it has been pretty spot on in helping me to identify when other tools are used to generate assignment. I don't want to say AI was used because I'm sure there are other tools out there that offers assistance. So I can say other tools, and then I love to have a conversation with my students to say, so tell me more about this. How did you write this? What's your process? Walk me through your entire journey. And that discussion helps you to identify whether or not they were the ones who truly did it, or if they contracted somebody to do the work for them. Yeah,
Appreciate you sharing all this,
no
Jill. And
probs.
it's so interesting how challenges are so similar across the board. I'll try to wrap up some of the things I've been learning with our educators that they've shared with us over the past couple years as we come to the end of this workshop. So one I've heard that is really important is to get to know your students' writing, right? So there's a few ways to do that, but just as you meet them, we've seen teachers be successful with having students do a couple assignments initially handwritten. So that's one potential strategy. Um, there obviously are others, but I think it's important to point out here with you all that the whatever AI detection tools you use, this includes co-graders AI detection and any other, these will not be perfect. There is no such thing as AI generated words, right? There are ways to identify them, and there's a specific way ChatGPT delves into tapestries of industrial things and specific phrase constructs, but really there's nothing about it that's unique, exclusive to AI. So I think that's something to keep in mind. And with that in mind, it's important not to use it as a gotcha, but like Tio said, as a start of a conversation. Those are some of the things I've seen educators use that really help. Another one is to try to assess the process. I think was already mentioned a couple of times today. The same way as when suddenly calculators entered the world and math teachers were like, whoa, now I can't assess whether 2 + 3 is 5. Now I need to understand how they got there. I think the same process will gradually start happening with writing, right? Where we're grading not the final output, not the final essay, but rather the steps and the thought process that led students to get there. And then finally, one last tip I've heard from an educator is to try to make the assignment prompts, whenever possible, to be reflective. So if we want a student to, if students are writing an essay about the Great Gatsby and you want to have a couple prompts about it, maybe you can ask them, how their childhood relates to some particular aspect of the Great Gatsby. Always when it's reflective, when it's about the student themselves, it's basically undoable for an AI tool that is not the student, right? So I think we can wrap up today's workshop. Andrew, any other last tips on AI assessment you'd like to share with everyone, or maybe something really special someone heard in one of your breakout rooms that you'd like to share with the group, just so we can close this in time in 2 minutes.
So I thought, or I heard a few things that were really cool where, so I was trying to capture them and write them in that, that like whiteboard. But I saw a bunch in the chat about AI detection. AI detection like doesn't work. Sorry, guys, there isn't one. But it's problematic for a lot of reasons. Just Google are AI detection tools racist. Somebody mentioned one other tool doing like a pretty suspicious thing with student privacy. Um, there, so I'm sorry, guys. Oh, ableist, yeah. False negatives, false positives. Yeah, there is no surefire way to detect AI generated text, just like Joe was saying. But knowing there's no substitute like I heard Jill mention, I heard other people mention, there's no substitute for knowing your students. I have used CoGrader to grade handwriting. It's great. I use the CSV upload to assess like students' flip grids and student reflections. Um, there's, yep, there's a ton of like opportunities, especially by reflecting on the process. Where now assessment can change from the final product to we can assess more often in smaller segments along the way so that it's easier for us to like give our students what they need. If you want like an example of how to do that, check out the gold certification.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Andrew. And we're at times here, so I'll try to wrap this up. Um, we're experimenting with these sessions as a way to get the most innovative educators across the country to and internationally to come together and exchange your best strategies, your best tactics. Our goal is really to encourage your participation. So let us know how you found the session, what you'd like us to talk about next. We're going to have the next ones about prepping for state test as well as a few other topics. So let us know if you have an amazing idea. If you have one strategy you'd like to show us, to show to the group, ping us an email. I'd like to present this particular strategy I'm using with my students or this particular type of teaching that's been really effective. I've seen improved student outcomes. That's what we want to foster. We're going to be having another teacher show how they're helping students incorporate the feedback that CoGrade generates and really take their learning to the next level. This particular educator has seen amazing improvements, and I think she's only started using CoGrade a few months ago. So that's going to be a fun session coming up too. So yeah, pick us a note, let us know your thoughts. I hope you were able to learn something today. CoGrader has shared this journey with all of you for the past few years, and it's crazy how very quickly we're in over 20 states across the country. More schools are pinging us. We don't even have a sales team at all, and we're very, very grateful for you all spreading the word with your communities on your social media, at your schools, and we're super available to help you use co-creator better, make your teaching better, free up your time, and hopefully improve how your students learn and engage with their classroom. So that said, appreciate everyone's time this beautiful Tuesday, and I hope everyone has a beautiful rest of their Tuesday.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good seeing you, Laura.
Plugged into the main line, hooked up to the grid. My memory's glowing, strung out like a squid. But there's nothing going on behind my eyes, my eyes, my eyes. And there's no one at home to find the time, the time, the time, the time. I've been daydreaming, lost in the wild. Daydreaming, no, 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 no. I've been daydreaming, lost in the wild.
Daydreaming,
no, no, no.